This is District Sentinel Radio, the newscast of record for the left. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
We are broadcasting out of the Sentinel Fort in Washington, D.C. Check out the website, districtsentinel.com. Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day. Some items at the top of the show.
Bad news.
Before we get into the newscast. Some bad news indeed. Yesterday, the D.C. City Council repealed Initiative 77, the voter-passed initiative to end the tipped minimum wage system, passed by a referendum, 55-45 or 56-44. Either way, it was passed by the voters. Clearly what they wanted. And the City Council said nope. And now it's going to the mayor.
And now we've got these bartender chuds and high-end servers who are like actually tweeting shit like, the city council listened to the concerns of workers and overrode this initiative. This is what democracy looks like.
This is what institutional corruption looks like, because as we've noted on this show, this was run by the restaurant lobby. And restaurants and the industry gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to members of the city council over the past 2 years. And a lot of that this year has gone to the city council chair, Phil Mendelson, and Muriel Bowser, who's now going to repeal it, pretending she's listening to workers, but really she's listening to donors.
Yeah, I have zero faith that Muriel Bowser will do the right thing here.
Absolutely not. She will not.
Update on a story from yesterday. The Department of Defense now says that there was no ricin in the envelopes, that it was castor seeds, which can be turned into ricin, but it hadn't been turned. So
it sounds like someone was trying, though. Yeah. The Military Times also noted that it came from a former Navy sailor. I guess that's sort of the reason why I wanted to cover it. I don't know. I just sort of assumed some MAGA chud was going to be responsible.
Well, it also exonerates the Pisstown Pals, if anybody had any ideas in the chat room.
Unless one of you has a Navy background.
I'm not so sure. I'm sure everybody's seen the story in the New York Times about Trump's taxes.
Yeah,
and
it's very long.
Yes, about how
turns
out he's a rich kid and was given handouts by his dad for a long time. It looks like his dad evaded a lot of tax laws, and Trump himself has evaded a lot of tax laws.
Also, Trump lied. Well, surprise, but Trump has said he got $1 million in loans from his dad, and he paid it back. It turns out he got like $60 million from his dad, and he paid none of it back.
Yeah. But the real story here is something that was flagged by Eve Pizer here. What the hell's wrong with Fred Trump's skull?
My God.
Seriously. What's going on here?
It looks like someone attached fur to a pretzel.
It looks like he got his head bashed in at one point, and it's just permanently like that. I don't even know what I'm looking at there.
It does look, it looks both like a horse and a horse kicked his head in.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look at it. It does. It looks like a pretzel. Someone glued tuna fish to a pretzel and then used liquid cement to put fur on it for the eyebrows. Go back to it. There we go.
Yeah. That's a perfect description.
Look at that thing.
All right. Hockey starts tonight.
Hockey does start tonight. As you notice, I'm wearing my Washington Capitals shirt. I can't say free Tom Wilson yet because I haven't seen the hit that led to this 20-game suspension, so I don't want to comment on the Tom Wilson
Was this
suspension.
due to another hit?
Yeah. I believe in the preseason. I won't comment on that. However, I am bringing it up because if you listen to this show in the spring, you'll recall that the Caps went 16-6 and won the Stanley Cup after Barbara Bush died. It's time to see how she does in the regular season. It's time to test Barbara Bush's ghost in an 82-game hockey season.
We'll get to see where the allegiance of John McCain's ghost lies this season, too. Really curious about that. Got some haikus to read in the middle of the show. But first, it's Wednesday, October 3rd, 2018. Here's the news. Republican senators are planning to be in possession of the FBI report on Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh as soon as later today. The GOP held a conference lunch meeting Wednesday afternoon. Afterwards, Senator John Thune told reporters they expect the FBI is finishing up its work and that all senators should have a copy of the final report this evening. That would be 2 days before the already truncated one-week deadline imposed by Senate Republicans in the White House on the FBI. And assuming Republicans are right, it would allow Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to fulfill his promise earlier in the week that the Senate would vote on the Kavanaugh nomination sometime this week. McConnell may file a cloture motion as soon as tonight, which could set up the first procedural vote Friday morning. This looks like a whitewash job to me. Worth noting, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, Kavanaugh's accuser, her attorney informed Chuck Grassley that they haven't been communicated to by the FBI. They haven't had any document requests from the FBI. NBC News has reported that as many as 40 people with information about the allegations against Judge Kavanaugh have tried to reach out to the FBI but have not been interviewed.
Has Kavanaugh been interviewed?
Kavanaugh has not been interviewed.
I don't think he has.
And it was reported as we were walking in here that Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford were not a part of the mandate given to the FBI as part of this investigation. Meanwhile, President Trump is now personally mocking Dr. Ford while on the campaign trail. Pretty disgusting display last night. And Republican Senators Jeff Flake and Susan Collins condemned the president's comments, but Flake said today that those comments would have no bearing on his support for Brett Kavanaugh.
The Trump administration pulled the U.S. out of a 1955 treaty with Iran. Today's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced the move right after an international body ruled that the U.S. is in violation of the agreement. The International Court of Justice said the U.S. violated the deal today in a case that was brought by Iran after the Trump administration pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal. The ICJ said that under the 1955 Treaty of Amity, the U.S. can't stop the flow of medicine, agricultural commodities, or anything related to civil aviation to Iran. The ICJ also said the Trump administration unlawfully reimposed sanctions on Iran when it pulled out of the nuclear deal because Iran has been deemed in compliance with the deal numerous times by the IAEA, that's the International Atomic Energy Agency. Now, as the BBC noted in its reporting, both Iran and the United States have ignored the ICJ in the past, but apparently just ignoring the body wasn't enough for the Trump administration, so it pulled out of the treaty underpinning the ruling altogether. Here was Secretary of State Tony the Tiger, Mike Pompeo, earlier today.
This is a decision, frankly, that is 39 years overdue.
He definitely sounds like Tony.
In July, Iran brought a meritless case in the International Court of Justice alleging violations of the Treaty of Amity. Iran seeks to challenge the United States' decision to cease participation in the Iran nuclear deal and to reimpose the sanctions that were lifted as a part of that deal. Iran is attempting to interfere with the sovereign rights of the United States to take lawful actions necessary to protect our national security. And Iran is abusing the ICJ for political and propaganda purposes. And their case, as you can see from the decision, lacked merit.
The decision showed that Iran's case had merit. They won. Not what happened. If Iranian leaders are listening to this show, I apologize for America's large rambunctious son, Mike Pompeo, who thinks violating international agreements, it's great.
All right, time for a haiku break. All new subscribers on the old Patreon get a poem read on the air, written by the two Sams. So let's read a few right now. This first one goes out to Mason. For all the haters who said it could not be done, I ate 12 donuts.
Thank you, Mason. This is for Justin. Diving board fun time. A short hop, a spring, then jump. Oh shit, hit my ass.
Thank you, Justin. This one is for Sam. Every now and then, a subscriber comes along with a stellar name.
Thank you, Sam. This is for Chase. Crack open a can. Shit, don't actually do it. Not with a pickaxe.
Thank you, Chase. This is for Graham. Knock, knock on the door, but I still won't open it. It's too damn risky.
Thank you, Graham. Finally, this is for Mike. Things you learn online. I just saw a video. A cow playing fetch.
Wow. You should have sent that video to me. I would have liked to have seen that. Thank you, Mike. Thanks to all the new subscribers on Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/District Sentinel. If you haven't heard your haiku yet, it's coming up.
Ex-coal lobbyist Andrew Wheeler continues to do dirty work at the EPA as administrator. This week, the agency stripped language from a rule that recognizes the impact of climate change on vulnerable populations. First reported yesterday by E&E News, the change came in a draft regulation on greenhouse gases called hydrofluorocarbons, or HFCs. They're commonly used in refrigerators and air conditioning. The EPA under Wheeler removed the regulatory language on the coolants, which was first added by the Obama administration, including the following, quote, certain populations and life stages, including children, the elderly, and the poor, are most vulnerable to climate change health effects. Impacts to children are expected from heat waves, air pollution, infectious and waterborne illnesses, and mental health effects resulting from extreme weather events. In addition, children are among those especially susceptible to most allergic diseases, as well as health effects associated with heat waves, storms, and floods. End of quote. A little tongue-tied there, pardon me.
Just plow through it. You've got it.
As we noted on the show last week, Wheeler fired the head of an EPA office overseeing children's health, the office leading the effort to cut down kids' exposure to lead. That means Wheeler has now undermined his own agency's child protection efforts twice in 2 weeks.
Wow. That's as bad as setting a nice record here that Pruitt has set. Grim. Finally, the Senate passed a long-term authorization of the Federal Aviation Administration, setting funding for the agency for the next 5 years. Airline lobbyists were able to tweak the bill to their liking, removing a provision that would have put passenger fees under more scrutiny to determine if they were reasonable. Senator Ed Markey, one of only 6 senators to vote against the bill, called the airliners' practice, quote, price gouging. But the lobbyists didn't get everything they wanted. A major project of theirs, the privatization of air traffic controllers, for example, was dropped from the bill before passage. Also, a number of provisions were added to help passengers deal with asshole airliners. The bill makes it illegal to put live animals in overhead bins.
It wasn't before?
Yeah, it wasn't before. It prohibits airlines from bumping passengers that are already seated. It instructs the FAA to set minimum seat width requirements, gives flight attendants more rest between shifts, outlaws cell phone calls on planes. Remember there was talk that they were going to start allowing this? Well, Congress said no, and I side with them. I want assholes on planes talking on their phone. Also creates an airline passengers with disabilities Bill of Rights. So some good things. Still won't curb my fear of flying, but Nice try. The measure also passed out of the House last week, so it now heads to President Trump's desk for signature. That'll do it for the newscast today. Any chatter in the chat room?
Yes, it is a chat room. There is chatter.
What do we got?
Ivan says, this is a test of the emergency Pisstown District Sentinel newscast. This is only a test.
I got that message today.
Steve says, my first time with the Pisstown live stream. I hope their aim is good. Should I cover my keyboard? Yes. We have Jason chanting, piss, piss, piss. David, I, for one, am glad the U.S. government is doing something for the bosses for a change. Steve, please call for a boycott of the most offending bougie restaurants. That's a long list, my friend.
Yeah.
Ivan, just a small loan, air quotes, or, well, not air quotes because he wrote it, scare quotes.
Trump constantly saying, I got a small loan from my father for $1 million.
Yeah. Jason asking, how far back are we in the backlog of haikus? A little, we're still
pretty far back. We're working our way through it. Jason, if you haven't heard it, it's probably going to come up in like the next 2 or 3 shows.
It's definitely coming up soon.
Yeah. Cool. Well.
Oh, Bobby says Fred Trump is fucking weird looking and has the same haircut, but brown.
Call the rant line 202-684-6108. Sponsors of the show include the Congressional Dish podcast hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Another sponsor, levelnews.org.
One last parting shot. Joe R. says, if only this D.C. City Council were full of Democrats, this never would have happened.
Bad
Fuck
news.
Democrats.
It is.
Fuck Democrats.
Fuck Democrats.
Fuck Democrats.
We'll be here tomorrow to say that again. Fuck Democrats. The newscast is back on Thursday. We're here in D.C., so you don't have to be.
Fuck Democrats. Fuck Democrats.